So it's difficult to simplify customer service when there are so many channels involved at banks and new channels are constantly being added. But also there's other changes that are happening, particularly with the customers. So Hugh, can you tell us how are the customer demands changing as well?
Well, it's been very interesting to look at this area. We did some research last year with YouGov, and that demonstrated that in every demographic except the over 75s and the unemployed, people were about 60% wanting to deal with their bank online. To be honest, that slightly surprised me because I thought the older demographic would be less in that space. But there's no doubt that what we're seeing is a changing pattern of demand, much more move towards web, much more move towards mobile, and those are placed on top of existing demand. So you still have to have people at the end of a telephone. You still have to have a branch network. It's important and integral to the bank's success on the high street. But that creates a very complicated environment to manage. And certainly the delivery of consistent brand values across all those different channels, when customers are undoubtedly less tolerant of slow or mediocre service, presents a unique, I think, demand on banks compared with other outfits and other sectors of the economy. So banks have it quite tough.
Mm. It's a really interesting point. One of the things I've noticed, especially over the last 2 to 3 years, was how a customer would have a relationship with us. They'd pop into their local branch from time to time, they'd phone us when they had a query, and they'd use internet banking from time to time to log on to. And I wouldn't disagree with your numbers. We're seeing about 50% of our customers want to bank with us in some way, shape or form, online or through mobile. But what I do think is different is speed. The kind of digital revolution, mobile banking now, the response that our customers want is just so much quicker. You know, the ability of email is just a very different scenario. I had a funny story the other day where a customer emailed me direct. They got my email address. They emailed me at 9:30. I didn't respond, so by 9:32 they emailed me again, 9:34, 9:36, 9:38, because it's that ability that online digital email is immediate response. And I think that is a real challenge for the banks, that how do we deal with all of these different channels and again deliver a great customer experience.
And you probably see that most clearly of all in payments processing, a 7-day check clearing cycle replaced by an online payment, which is almost instantaneous.
Yeah. I think we've made some good strides forwards, faster payments, so the ability now that you can pay somebody and the payment effectively is in their account. We're looking to do the same with the mobile technology that's just launched, so you can pay somebody's mobile effectively for small amounts. So I think there's been some really good leaps in technology, but it's still a challenge. And it's still something we've got to work really hard at.
Yeah, and I think the whole payment sector is going to be one of the most volatile in banking. From having been a kind of hidden Cinderella function within the bank, it's now coming to the fore as a serious competitive advantage to be able to use that flexibility.
Yeah, I think the payments is very interesting. As you say, there was always this check clearance cycle and things tended to take about a week for payments to get to somebody else. Now it's all immediate. Everything is immediate. Speed, I think, is one of the biggest changes. That's where technology's really helped banking. That, you know, it's a much better, speedier, efficient system for a customer.
So it's interesting to work out, you know, in terms of the customer demands, are you feeding the monster? In terms of by delivering immediate customer service, you're going to make people want more.
And you can kind of understand that because as a customer ourselves, you just want more and more. So you start to use internet or you start to use mobile and it's great. It does what it says on the tin.
What about the different customer segments? So you said with online banking and the expectations there, it's not just the young customers we're talking about here, is it? What about the other sort of segments?
So I'm happy to go first. I think we see a mix. So I think we see a complete range. We see people who just want to deal with us online. So they will only ever use mobile or they only ever use internet banking. Don't really want to go into a branch, haven't been into a branch, don't really want to phone us. So if they want to have any dialogue, it'll be through web chat or something like that. To the complete reverse, there are still customers, even the numbers we just talked about, 50 and 60%, there is still a good number of customers who don't want to use internet banking, who don't want to use mobile banking, who want to go into their traditional branch and see their local bank manager and have a conversation, have a relationship with them. Our challenge is to deliver all of that. for everybody.
If you're giving customers all these different choices, isn't that just making things more and more complicated? If you want to simplify and streamline things, wouldn't you said in the first chapter, you know, as new channels get added, nothing gets sort of expired. Wouldn't it be simpler to cut some of those choices?
I think that's where, picking up on Martin's point, the deployment of technology becomes absolutely critical. So it's really, if you can deliver a common core of the technology heart, but just have different people interfacing to it, then it becomes much easier. So if your mobile uses the same core systems as your online, as the staff do in branches, then you're talking about keeping the channel differentiation to a relatively narrow segment of the cost, while the core of the processing is done by a common technology platform. Now, I don't know of any bank who's got there yet, because the costs of replacing core technology platforms in banks are extraordinarily high. But it's going to be about that nimbleness at the point of the customer, but consistent in the internal processing, and delivering the maximum technology that you can to make that happen on a cost-effective basis. That is going to be the key to it. And as always with technology, new entrants like an Amazon have an initial advantage that lasts a while, but then they have to deal with a legacy customer base as much as anybody else does.
Hugh makes a really good point. The trick for us is, how can we make it so whether you're using mobile, internet, you phone us or you walk into the branch, actually the same core system sits behind that, because then we know that it's going to be done right first time. That's all that any customer ever wants. So that's where we've got to get to. Now, I don't know of any bank that's at that stage.
Agreed.
But that's where, you know, to be honest, we've all got to work towards and utilise that technology.